All right, we are live in beautiful, sunny Florida. And today, fight fans, we're going to be breaking down UFC on Fox 27, Jacare versus Brunson 2 in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, for a Fox card, man, I do think this one's lacking a little bit, especially just in that main card area. Don't get me wrong, I think we have a tremendous main event on our hands here with the rematch of Jacare and Brunson after such a long time and how the first one ended, Jacare knocking him out. It now both these guys are in different spots of their career, but as for the rest of the card, I mean, Andre Fili versus Dennis Bermudez in the co-main event. Not exactly the kind of co-main event you want to have on Fox, but is what it is. I think this card is banging from a like a stylistic perspective. I think we're gonna have some really good fights. Like it from a betting perspective, I do have 4 bets. And speaking of bets, quickly going to recap my bets from last week. Unfortunately, I did take a very slight loss. So first, I had 1 unit on Douglas Lima at plus 200 to beat Rory McDonald, and he put up a good fight. He had a lot of moments, but if we're just being honest, Rory McDonald is just a step above Douglas Lima. But man, Douglas Lima, that guy is an absolute warrior. Um, Other 2 losing bets, 1 unit on Volkan Oezdemir at plus 275. I thought the line was off. The number was huge. I took the 1 unit stab, is what it is. Next, the big loser, what really cost me the weekend, 4 units on Francis Ngannou. I truly believed he was going to knock out Stipe Miocic. Stipe was able to eat the shots, and I mean, I think we all knew what would happen if that fight were to get past the first round there. So 4 unit loss there. But as for my 3 winning bets, I had 3 units on Islam Makhachev. He was able to get the knockout very early on a USADA victim in Clayson Tebow. I had 2 units on the Volante Barroso over 1.5 rounds because I just knew that was going to be an absolute slot fest, and there it was. So that hit. And then 1 unit on Calvin Kattar at plus 175. He was able to come in with the real devastating knockout there in the 3rd round, and that fight was looking very even. First round I gave to Kattar. Second round was razor close, but I did give it to Burgos. He was able to come out there and knock out Shane Burgos in the 3rd round. Calvin Kattar is a force not to be reckoned with. So we're going to get to this whole 12-fight card here, man. Excited to get into it. Like I said, 4 plays. DraftKings, I haven't done my DraftKings lineups quite yet, but I'm going to tell you who I like and who I don't like based on the prices. So let's just get into this whole last thing. So shout out to my man Levy on Twitter. See, I do have a new YouTube avatar. I have a new Twitter avatar. My man Levy came in through, made that for me, and I love it, man. So definitely go follow this guy on Twitter. That's going to be Levy with L, 3 E's, V, and that looks like 5 eyes. You'll find him on Twitter. He's a cool guy. I tweeted him out, so just go through my Twitter and follow him. Definitely deserves it. Cool guy. He bets on fights too. So follow him, but let's get into it, man. So first fight of the night, we don't have odds on it quite yet, but we got Austin Arnett, 15-3, taking on Corey Sandhagen, 7-1 at 145 pounds. Austin Arnett was on the Contender Series, actually lost to Brandon Davis, who fought last week. Brandon Davis took an L against Bochniak. Arnett was a minus 200 favorite in that fight against Brandon Davis, and I don't want to say he dropped the ball. I mean, Brandon Davis is a decent fighter, but something just didn't click with him. Brandon Davis was just able to make it his game, and looking at this guy Corey Sandhagen, he's only been pro since 2015. He hasn't been in there with, I would say, quite the level of talent that Austin Arnett has. Austin Arnett has amateur bouts dating all the way back to 2007. He's a very seasoned striker. I think he's a lot more experienced here. I think he's going to be able to go out and prove himself a little bit better than Sandhagen under the big lights. I think he outstrikes Sandhagen here over the course of 3 rounds, or possibly even gets a knockout. I was very surprised to see Austin Arnett actually as the underdog on DraftKings. Like I said, betting odds aren't out yet, but yeah, Austin Arnett is like 7,900 on DraftKings. So we'll see what the odds look like, man. But I think I'll be playing a little bit of Austin Arnett when it comes to DraftKings. I think he's a solid dog there. I think he can land a lot of points, and think he might be able to get a knockout. So I'm going to go with Austin Arnett. I'll say a 30-27 decision. So moving on to this fight, man, my very first play of the night. We got Nico Price minus 240 taking on George Sullivan plus 200. I do like Nico Price here quite a bit. The thing with George Sullivan is, the guy, we're looking at another USADA victim, just like Clayson Tebow last week. And we're not looking at a Mateus Nicolau. We're not looking at a Brian Ortega. We're looking at old USADA victims who probably need whatever they were taking, like these guys like Tebow and George Sullivan. He's 36 years old. And, looking at the guy's skill set, I mean, even when the guy was back on the juice, he was getting knocked out in the first round by Alexander Yakovlev. He went out there and made Yakovlev look like fucking Mirbek Tysonov, man. So even on the juice, this guy was not very good. He was getting submitted by the striker, and Tim Means, his best win in the UFC, his Dominic Waiters. I mean, I'm just not overly impressed with the game of George Sullivan, and I think his skill set is going to be even more regressed now that he's had such a layoff. He's not taking what he used to be taking. And then you got on the other side here, you got Nico Price, who did just take his very first loss. I mean, against a top, you could say a top 10 guy in Vicente Luque. Vicente Luque is a extremely talented individual. He was able to get Price out of there. But before that, man, Price was on quite the roll, knocking out Alan Jouban, knocking out Alex Morono, and submitting Brandon Thatch. And, obviously before that, putting together a 7-0 pro record in the regional scene. The kid's athletic. He's explosive. He's well-rounded. He's in the prime of his career. He's 28 years old. I see nothing that shows me George Sullivan is going to have something for this guy. I think Nico Price can go out, starch him early. I think he can go out, get takedowns, wear the guy out, get a submission, TKO on the ground. I think this is going to be all Nico Price. I truly believe this is a mismatch. I think the line should actually be a lot more wide than minus 240. That being said, I put Nico Price in a 3-unit parlay with a prop later in the card. So 3 units on Nico Price there. That's going to be my second biggest play of the night. So I like Nico Price, and I say he gets it done via first round knockout. Next fight of the night, we got what do we got? We got Justine Kish minus 325 now, taking on Ji-Yeon Kim plus 265. Man, I just think the skill gap here is way too wide. I think Justine Kish is a very talented striker, very talented grappler. She has a lot of heart. She is always pushing. She's always working. She did take her first loss last time out against Felice Herrig. Felice Herrig's on a roll, man. I mean, you look at that girl's record since she got her, her health problems figured out. Felice has just been on a roll, and, Justine Kish was in the way of that roll. So she was a victim of that. Other than that, man, she's went out. She's beaten girls like Ashley Yoder, Nina Anzarov, who's looking great, Random Marcos. So Justine Kish has some skills, man. And this girl, Ji-Yeon Kim, I kind of feel like she's just a little bit green. I feel like she doesn't belong in the UFC, just, to put it lightly. She did go out, lose her UFC debut against Lucy Pujilova last time out in Singapore. And yes, that is the same Lucy Pujilova that lost to Lena Landsberg. So, I mean, that kind of just shows the talent that we're given here. Now, one thing here that a lot of people are missing now, Ji-Yeon Kim is actually coming down from 135 pounds to flyweight 125 pounds. And Justine Kish is coming up from 115 pounds to 125 pounds. So you got to think Ji-Yeon Kim is going to have some size in there, and that could be the case. It might not be the case. Justine Kish was a very big strawweight, and Ji-Yeon Kim wasn't the biggest bantamweight in the world. So they're probably going to go in there about the same size, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. But I feel like the price is warranted. I feel like Justine Kish absolutely should be over a 3-1 dog here. Minus 325 seems reasonable to me. Of course, though, I got to stay away from parlaying that. Don't want to get into any of that. So Justine Kish, I'll say she wins a very comfortable 30-27 decision. Wouldn't shock me if she got the finish. She's a little pricey on DraftKings, so I probably won't be playing a lot of her, but she is definitely the pick for me is Justine Kish. I think she gets it done by a dominant decision. So moving on to the next fight of the night here. We got Vince Pichel, -110, taking on Joaquim Neto BJJ Silva, also -110. So pick 'em odds here, and I don't. I mean, I guess I kind of see it, but I definitely edge Vince Pichel here. I think Vince Pichel, he hits harder. He has a better chin. I feel like he's got the better wrestling. He has more tools. This should probably be a victory for him, whether it's in the wrestling or the striking. I feel like he can get it done by knockout. I feel like he can grind his way to a 30-27 decision. And I feel like it would be a lot smarter for him to take the wrestling route because Joaquim Silva is a guy with a lot of power and damn good striking. I mean, if anything, Joaquim Silva probably has the more technical striking than Vince Pichel. Vince Pichel is just... dude hits like a Mack truck and he swarms people, and he's a tough guy to be in there with. And looking at Joaquim Silva's record, it's all not that impressive, man. So last time out, he went out there against Reza Madadi, who's just it's Reza Madadi, and he went to a split decision with him. Before that, knocked out Andrew Holbrook. Everybody knocks out Andrew Holbrook. Before that, went to a split decision with Nazareno Malaraji. Now, I do believe that probably shouldn't have been a split decision. I thought he won that fight comfortably, but is what it is, man. I don't really think Joaquim Silva is the greatest in the world, and I think probably these guys are around the same level of skill. These guys are ranked. This is a closely even fight. I just feel like stylistically it favors Vince Pichel because I do think he can land the takedowns and kind of pull some pages out of the book of Reza Madadi there. And, dude hits hard as fuck. So if he were to go out there and knock out Joaquim Silva, give him the first L of his career, I wouldn't be surprised at all. That being said, I am going to stay away from it. I'm going to be playing a lot of Vince Pichel on DraftKings, though, that is for sure. But from a betting perspective, it's going to be a pass for me. But my official pick, I'm going to go with Vince Pichel via first round knockout. So moving on to the next fight of the night, man, we got Randa Marcos -160 taking on Juliana Lima +140. This is probably the fight of the night that I'm having the hardest time trying to figure out what's going to happen here. I feel like they're pretty well evenly matched, and I kind of feel like sometimes they fight to the level of their opponent. I feel like they always fight close. Both these girls go to a lot of splits, so I have no reason to believe this fight won't be a close split decision. I think that's what exactly it's going to be. I feel like the striking will be close exchanges, and I feel like Randa might get a takedown or two of her own, and Juliana Lima is going to get a takedown or two of her own. So the best breakdown I'm going to give here is that I think these two women fight extremely close with each other. I think it's evenly matched, so I see a close split decision here. That being said, the value on Juliana Lima at +140, it's there. I'm not going to take it. I think there's a couple better underdogs in this card, so I'm going to be passing from this fight. Probably play a little bit of Lima on DraftKings because she is the dog in a closely contested fight. So official pick for me, I'll go Juliana Lima, 29-28 split decision. Now moving on to this fight, man, this is my biggest play of the night. We got Katlyn Chookagian, -160, taking on Mara Romero Borella, and she's coming in here +140. Now, I do believe this is a mismatch, man. I mean, we got Katlyn Chookagian, who's, a very good fighter. She's a good athlete. She moves well. She's got good striking. She has good grappling. She's also coming down to 125 pounds, her ideal weight class for the first time. And I mean, man, she went out there and beat a very big bantamweight, Irene Aldana, in her last fight. She went out and beat her. So, I mean, she's going to come down here and look even better. I think Katlyn Chookagian easily, especially with the way the division is right now. I feel like Katlyn Chookagian is a top 3 flyweight, and I'm not even joking when I say that, man. I think she's very talented. And Romero Borella, on the other hand, so she came out in her UFC debut last time out against Kalindra Faria, and she went out there. She got the takedown on Kalindra. She was able to hold her down, and she was eventually able to lock up the submission. Huge credit to her. She was a plus 190 underdog there. But let's be honest, man. Kalindra Faria doesn't have takedown defense, and she doesn't have a get-up game. When you are going out there against Jessica I, and you rock her, absolutely rock her, and you still get taken down, and you still can't get up against Jessica I mean, that's very low-level stuff, man. I mean, we know Jessica I does not win fights, and the fact that she was able to go out there and out-wrestle and hold down Kalindra Faria, that kind of just takes away a lot of what Romero did to Kalindra Faria. So I don't really hold that win in very high regard anymore. And so back to Mara's record. I mean, I do believe she was she was plus 190 in that fight to Kalindra Faria for a reason. So looking at her record before that, she made her Invicta debut, her lone Invicta fight to Milana Dudieva. And if you don't know Milana Dudieva, she is she's one of the worst strawweights to ever. She was Milana Dudieva. What weight class we're dealing with? She was a bantamweight, dropping down to a 125, right? Yeah, she just lost to her now. Milana Dudieva is what we refer to as one of the worst female fighters to ever grace the UFC roster. And Mara Romero Borella went to a very close split decision with her. Before that, she went on a nice little run of wins against 4-5, 2-1, 3-2 fighters. But look back here in 2015. In 2015, Mara Romero Borella was knocked out. Not one, not two, 3 times she was knocked out in a 5-month span. And she was knocked out by the likes of Anna Elmos, who you may or may not know her as also one of the other worst female fighters to grace the UFC roster. Stephanie Egger, who holds a very impressive 2-1 record. And after that, she was knocked out by a Chinese fighter in the first round named Jin Tang, who holds a 22-10 record. So, man, one does not simply get knocked out 3 times in a 5-month span. I truly believe that Romero Borella is little overhyped because of that first UFC win. I don't think she belongs in the UFC. I think this is a huge mismatch, man. So I love Katlyn Chookagian here. I put 3.2 units on her at minus 160, and I think she wins a very comfortable decision here. I think she stuffs the takedowns, and I think she outstrikes solidly. So Katlyn Chookagian, 30-27 decision. So moving on to the next fight here, man, we got the biggest favorite of the card. We got Mirsad Bektic, minus 620, taking on Godofredo Pepe, plus 460. Man, Mirsad Bektic, what can you say about this guy? He got comeback of the year against Darren Elkins in his last fight. You know, you could see the level and talent of this guy, though. I mean, I see a lot of people kind of just writing the guy off. I don't think you can write Mirsad Bektic off at all. I mean, one does not simply go up 20-16 on Darren Elkins. I know, the narrative on Darren Elkins is the guy gets his ass beat and then he finishes or decisions you. Nobody does that to Darren Elkins. I think that's a little overlooked at what he did do to him in that first 2 rounds. The guy just needed to take his first loss, and Darren Elkins is a top 10 guy. What can I say? So, he went out there, he lost that fight. Now he has Godofredo Pepe in his vision, and I think this is just simple. I think he goes out here and wrecks him, man. I think he probably just dismantles him on the feet. I think he can land takedowns with ease. I think he can ground and pound with ease, maybe even lock up a submission. I think this is an extremely easy matchup for Mirsad. Now, Godofredo Pepe is a very tricky guy, especially with those submissions, and even standing, he goes for flying arm bars and he gets them. So Mirsad Bektic, he's got to be very careful, but I'm gonna say that the minus 620 is absolutely warranted here. I think he takes Godofredo Pepe out. I'll say early second round TKO. So are we on the main card now? I believe we're on the main card. No, we got one more to go. We got one more prelim to go. So next up, we got Bobby Green, minus 155, taking on Eric Koch, plus 135. Man, this is an interesting matchup for me. I kind of feel like Eric Koch, he went out there and he dropped the ball big time against Clay Guida last time, but did he really drop the ball? I mean, I kind of feel like in hindsight, of course, Clay Guida is going to win that fight. Koch doesn't, he doesn't have the best takedowns defense in the world. Guida is a very strong wrestler. He's a veteran, and he was just the more experienced guy and was able to take down Koch and control him. Now, Bobby Green, I don't believe he's as strong as a wrestler, and he doesn't have that kind of game plan like Clay Guida. I feel like he kind of has to, I mean, maybe he could go out there and out-wrestle Eric Koch, but I kind of feel like he has to outstrike him, and just striking with Eric Koch is kind of a dangerous game, man. Eric Koch has a lot of pop in his punches and kicks, and he can take dudes out, and it's not like Bobby Green hasn't been taken out before, so I think the line is just about right here. I feel like it's probably going to be a Bobby Green decision or an Eric Koch knockout. Now, a prop I was looking at that's really interesting is Eric Koch by knockout is plus 685. So if you're into props, man, I mean, I think that might be one of the best to play of the weekend. So, man, I don't know. I kind of feel like Eric Koch, I wouldn't be surprised if you went out there and just hit Bobby Green with something clean and knocked him out cold, or wouldn't be surprised if Bobby Green just put on a more technical performance and outgrinded the guy for 3 rounds. So I'm going to go with the latter. I'm going to say Bobby Green wins a 30-27 decision over Eric Koch here. So moving on to the main card now, man. This is a fight I've kind of been paying attention a lot to. We got Drew Dober minus 175 taking on Frank Camacho plus 155. Initially, I kind of liked Frank Camacho as a nice underdog here, and I was ever so close to playing him 2 units there, but I decided to pass, and I'm very glad I did pass because I'm leaning a lot more towards Drew Dober here in these last couple days. I just feel like he's the way more technical striker. The kid got a fucking jaw on him. I don't think he's going to get knocked out here. If Frank Camacho tries to come out here and fight like he did against Damian Brown, I mean, Drew Dober's a lot more crisp and technical than Damian Brown. And he's a lot more pop in his punches than Damian Brown. I feel like Frank Camacho might come out here and just might take a big counter to the face and get knocked out. So I'm really leaning towards Drew Dober, and we know Frank Camacho, he has that style that likes to come out and brawl, and I think brawling with Drew Dober is going to be a very unwise decision. So, and I think that is what's going to happen. I think Frank Camacho is going to come out and try to knock this dude out, and I don't think it's going to happen. I think the guy with the better chin and the guy with the more technical striking is going to knock Frank Camacho out. So I got Drew Dober first round knockout, and I'm going to be playing a decent amount of him in DraftKings there. If Frank Camacho comes out here and tries to wrestle Drew Dober, I mean, obviously that'd probably be the smart thing to do here. I'm not quite convinced he can do it. So, man, I actually think there might be a little bit of value now on Drew Dober at minus 175. It's crazy how things can swing there. I mean, I was thinking about taking a dog shot on Camacho, and I'm so glad I didn't because I really like Drew Dober here now. So I'm going to go Drew Dober, first round knockout. So we got another big favorite here, guys. We got Gregor Gillespie minus 580 taking on Jordan Rinaldi plus 440. There's really not much to say, man. Gregor Gillespie's he's a real talented. He's a gifted guy. I mean, his nickname, the Gift. I mean, I think that's kind of accurate. I mean, he's a stud wrestler. He's so strong, working on his striking. He's knocking dudes out. He's got decent hands now, and now he's taking on Jordan Rinaldi, who, he's a tough guy, but I don't hold him in the highest regard. He was able to Von Flue choke Alvaro Herrera in his last fight, but it's Alvaro Herrera. We got Gregor Gillespie now, man. So I think if Gregor Gillespie goes out here and isn't able to land takedowns, Jordan Rinaldi has a decent chance of outstriking him for 3 rounds. But I think Gregor Gillespie, he's going to be able to land the takedowns here. I feel like that 580 also, just like the Bektic fight, I think the gigantic odds are warranted here. That being said, do not parlay Gregor Gillespie at a minus 580, minus 600, because we all know how that ends with parlaying gigantic favorites. I had to learn that the hard way. So definitely stay away from that, man. And even on DraftKings at 9,500 or 9,400, whatever ridiculous price he is. I mean, are you really sure he's going to be able to pay that off? I mean, who knows, man? So I would stay away from it. I wouldn't go out and take the dog shot on Jordan Rinaldi either. I just feel like this is a clear pass in a fight that Gregor Gillespie is most likely going to win via a wrestling-based decision. So moving on to the co-main event here, man. We got Dennis Bermudez minus 155 taking on Andre Fili plus 135. I took the dog shot on Andre Fili here. I put 2 units on him at plus 150. And quite simply, man, I mean, Dennis Bermudez loses fights. I mean, looking at the guy's record, I mean, not even to mention the little 2-fight losing streak he's on. He is 2-4 in his last 6 fights. Granted, he lost to Ricardo Lamas, Jeremy Stevens, Chan Sung Jung, and Darren Elkins, all really tough guys. But you look at Dennis Bermudez's wins. Hani Jason, he unanimous decisioned him, but to be honest, it got a little scary there in that 3rd round. He unanimous decisioned Tatsuya Kawajiri. It's Tatsuya Kawajiri. Before that, submitted Clay Guida, who tends to get submitted a lot. Jimmy Hedges, Steven Siler, not the best competition within the last 5 years. He did split decision a very young, like 20-year-old Max Holloway. Even before that, split decision with Matt Grice, and Matt Grice put the hands on him. Dennis Bermudez, it's pretty clear at this point, he doesn't have a very good shin. I think even people backing Dennis Bermudez will agree with that. The guy has a bad shin, clear and simple. Now, Andre Fili, can he take advantage of that? I think he absolutely can, man. Look at that fight with Gabriel Benitez. We know what a talented striker Gabriel Benitez is. We just saw what he did to Jason Knight. Andre Fili went out there in Gabriel Benitez's home country in elevation and knocked him out cold in the first round there. So Andre Fili can put dudes down. Look at after that. I mean, his last 2 losses against Yair Rodriguez and Calvin Kattar. That's 2 top 10 guys, man. And then in the wins, you can say what you want against. You can say what you want about Hakran Diaz at this point. Hakran Diaz is a very seasoned veteran who has good wins of his own, like Darren Elkins. Hakran Diaz is a tough dude. And then unanimous decision, Artem Lobov last time out. Artem Lobov, another guy. You can say what you want about him, but very tough dude. I mean, not easy to get a win against by any means. So, I feel like the line's a bit off here. I feel like Andre Fili should actually be a slight favorite. I feel like he can knock out Dennis Bermudez. I feel like he can outstrike him for 3 rounds. Obviously, what Dennis is going to be looking at here is the wrestling, but I feel like Andre Fili's been training his whole career at Team Alpha Male. I feel like his wrestling improves every single fight. I think he can stuff Dennis Bermudez, and I think when he does that, he's going to make him pay, and I feel like he will knock him out after the first 2 or 3 takedowns fail. So I'm going to go with Andre Fili via a late 1st round, early 2nd round TKO here. 2 units at plus 150 to win 3 units. So moving on to the main event here, man. We got Rinaldi, Jacare, Souza, minus 155 taking on Derek Brunson, plus 135. Now their last fight out, this was in Strikeforce all the way back in, and I got to pull it up here. I want to say this fight is probably coming up on, 7-8 years at this point. I should already have this pulled up, but I don't. Jacare. That was in 2012, so we're looking at 6 years. A lot has changed. Brunson, he came in as a plus 325 underdog there and got knocked out by Jacare. We know Jacare has heat in his hands for sure. He can put dudes down, but man, we're looking at a whole new thing here. Derek Brunson back then, who's known as the wrestler, now he's known as the guy who blitzes people and puts people out very early and does that to very good fighters like legends like Lyoto Machida, guys in their prime like Uriah Hall. You know, say what you want about Brunson, but he had Robert Whittaker, the champion, on wobbly legs. He had him near finished. So, you know, the guy has very scary power. He's very athletic, and Jacare, he's aged so much. I feel like he's aged so much just in the past like 2 years. Obviously went out, got knocked out by Robert Whittaker. Is he going to come back from that fight the same? He's taken a good amount of time off. He took the proper amount of time off. Credit to him. But I mean, look at Jacare's wins. I mean, I would argue that Jacare really hasn't had a impressive win against a really good guy in about 4 years now, and that would be Gegard Mousasi in 2014. After that win, he beat Chris Camozzi, lost to Yoel Romero, beat Vitor Belfort, the post-TRT Vitor Belfort, and submitted Tim Boach. So it's been a while since we've seen Jacare beat an elite guy, and I do think Derek Brunson's an elite guy at this point. I feel like Jacare, he slowed down, his defense isn't as sharp, his ability to take a shot isn't as sharp, so I feel like Derek Brunson, he's a very good chance to go out here and start him early. So that being said, put 2 units on Derek Brunson at plus 140 to win 2.8 units. And now what if Derek Brunson doesn't go out and get that first round finish on Jacare? I think Jacare is probably a little bit tougher of a guy, mentally tougher. You know, more veteran experience, more tools in his bag. So if it reaches that second round, I think Jacare will really start to take over. Now, this is a big if. I'm putting my money on Brunson. I do think it's going to end in the first round by him getting the knockout. But if it doesn't, Jacare will start to take over in that second or third round, and he'll probably get him out of there with a knockout of his own or a submission. That being said, the other half of that Nico Price parlay is the Brunson Jacare fight doesn't start round 4. So I put 3 units on Price parlayed with this main event doesn't start round 4. I got that at minus 101, so 3 units to win 2.97 there. That's my second biggest play of the night. So that's my take on this fight. I think Brunson wins by first round knockout. If it doesn't happen, the second most likely thing is Jacare by sub or knockout in the second or third round. So there it is. My official pick is going to be Derek Brunson first round knockout. Just to review my plays one more time, I got 3.2 units on Chookagian at minus 160. That's my biggest play of the night. 3 units on that parlay I just mentioned. 2 units on Andre Fili at plus 150. And 2 units on Derek Brunson at plus 140. So that's going to be it for me, guys. I'm looking forward to this card. I want to thank you all very much for watching. I'm looking forward to it. You know, like the video, do all that good stuff. Comment below. I want to know who you guys are betting on. I'm always interested to hear what other people are betting on and their takes on fights. Of course, you can hit me up on Twitter. I'm down to talk fights with all you guys. You know, you can check my bets out at Bet MMA Tips. And that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you again so much for watching. And follow Levy. Follow the guy that made that logo. That's a pretty logo, is it not? So I'm going to get out of here, guys. You have a good one. Enjoy the fights.